Hello my friend and welcome to my channel Razib. I hope that you're well. In this video, we'll actually start implementing our game's functionality. And we'll start with the most important functionality, which is rolling the dice. So let's start with another look at our flowchart. So that's why I included it in here in the project. So when the users roll dice, we want to first generate a random dice roll, then display it, and then check whether it is 1 or not. And if it is not, we added that dice roll to the current score, and if it is 1, we go to the next player. And maybe you are noticing that having or building a flowchart like this is pretty similar to actually dividing the big problem down into smaller sub-problems. So essentially, all these squares that we have here on the flowchart are like the sub-problems that we now need to go ahead and implement. So again, for a bigger application like this one, it is a very good idea to draw a flowchart like this. And with the process of solving problem that I taught you in the previous section. So use all of this method that I showed you together whenever you need to solve a problem, because in the end, building a project like this is also simply solving problem. So you know how the project is supposed to work, but then the problem is to essentially implement it yourself. And so you need to divide that big problem that can seem very scary into smaller problems that will then be easy to implement. As we move through this project, you will see that is not so scary after all. And with that being said, let's now also see this part of flowchart in action in the real application, so in our demo here. So this is a little bit less abstract. So we roll the dice. So we have the 3 number. So we generate a random number and then display the dice accordingly. And then we add that score down here. Okay? So let's roll it until we get a number 1. You see we added it until we get number 1. Good. Again, now we actually roll the 1. And so we moved on the next layer, okay? So let's come back to our code now. So as I just explained you before, using the flowchart, but seeing it in action is a bit easier. So we want to react to clicking that roll button. So we need to select that button element and then add an event lister or an event handler. Okay, so let's see in HTML what we have. So here is our button. So we have these 3 buttons. Actually, let's select all of them because we need them. So that's, as you can see, the new button, and also the roll button and the hold button. Okay, so let's do it. So const btn for the new button. So document as always dot query selector. Okay, and the class is, remember, dot button dash new. Okay, and now I will just duplicate this line 2 times because we have 3 buttons. Of course, I will change the variable here and the class. So we have button roll. So here button roll, and we have also button hold. Okay, and here button hold. So that's gonna work just fine. And now let's implement here the rolling dice functionality. So let's continue. So here maybe I added the comment for you, the rolling dice functionality. Okay, so for that we take the roll button, of course. So button roll, and that is button roll. And then, as always, when we want to react to an event, which in this case is going to be a click, we use the add event listener. Okay, then the name of the event is click, and of course we need to declare our function. Okay, right here. Good. Nothing new at the moment. And since we will not reuse this function, I can simply write it here directly. So let's now write some command before we actually write the code, because that is very helpful in knowing what we should do. So we already know that we need to start by generating a random dice roll. Okay, so first one, generating a random dice roll. Then the second thing, what we do, we display the dice, and then we check for a roll to 1 basically, and if it's true, switch to the next player now. Okay, so 3, check for the rolled, if it is 1 in this case, if true, then switch to next player. Okay, so that's exactly what we have in the flowchart as well. Okay, so let's start here. So let's create a simply dice variable, and so that's why now we have dice element here for the element, and then dice for the number itself. And this variable here needs to be not a global variable. Okay, so variable outside here, because each time that we roll dice, we want to generate a new number. And so let's simply define that variable here. And now we create this random dice roll just as before. So math.random, which creates a number between 0 and 0.1919. So almost 1, multiply that by 6. Okay, then we truncate all of this. So math.truncate math.truncate trunc like this. Okay, do you remember? So remove the decimal part here. So that's math.trunc. So basically we pass in the result of all of this into this math.trunc function, and so this will then give us a number between 0 and 5. And so we just added 1 to elevate that 1 to 6. Okay? So that's similar that we did before, and now we just need to display this dice. Now, the first thing that we must do here is to actually remove the hidden class. So remember, in the starting condition, we hid the dice by adding the hidden class. And so now the first thing is to remove that. So let's do here. So dice element dot class list dot remove. Here we remove the hidden class. So just like in the last project, and now comes the interesting part. So we know that the dice will be a number between 1 and 6. And now, according to these numbers, we want to display one of this image that we have here. So you see that we have dice dash 1, dash 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And so now we want to use this dice number here to according to the number display one of the image, and that's actually not hard to do. So let me show you how it looks like in the HTML now. So you will see that right now the score of the image is dice 5. And if you know HTML, you know that the source attribute here is how we define which image should be displayed. And we can actually now actually change. We can manipulate this source attribute from our JavaScript. And so that's the trick that we will use to display the image according to the rolled dice number. So let's again take the dice element. Okay, and then here there is a new thing. So now we can use the source property. Okay, so .src source, just like it is called in the HTML, and now we can set it to a string, and that string will then be the name of the image displayed. So let's use here template literal. And then we write dice dash, because that's basically the common name in all of these image names. And then here we use the dice number, like this, dice number. Okay, and finally we added, of course, the extension. It is .png. So simple. And so with this, you can dynamically load one of these 6 images here, depending on the random rolled dice. So let's try this one. So save. Okay, because this part should already be working now. So let's see. Rolled. Good, indeed. We get this tree here. Okay, so let's look at the console now. As you can see, I have tree here. So this one number, just so we see that the dice is actually the corresponding one of the number. Okay, so I will add maybe another console.log to see more useful. So here, let's add it here, console.log, oops, not location, log dice. Okay, so let's see. Good. We see that we have number 2, I've added from here, and we have logit here to the console. Good. So indeed, number 2 has been added to our previous score. Okay. Now we can, of course, roll again. We have one. We have one. So we have jump. I have in demo. Sorry, I'm in demo. Sorry. So let's start from here. So let's roll. We have number 4. Good. Let's continue. 4. We have 6. Good. 6 again. 2, etc., etc. So that means that our code is correct. Great. And now all that we have to do is to keep adding to roll dice to the current score. And so that's what we will do here in this case, where we check for the rolled one. Okay. So remember that only happens when the number is not 1. Do you remember? So again, if it is 1, switch to player. If no, then add the dice roll to the current score. So basically, let's test here. So here, let's test if dice is different from 1. Okay, like this, and you add also else statement, else, and here I will add the comment for switch to next player if it is 1. Okay, just a comment. Okay, so here we want to switch to the next player, but it is not, if it is not 1, then we want to add the dice to the current score. So let's add also comment here, add the dice to current score. So let's do this part here. And in order to actually be able to dice to the current score, we need a way of saving the current score somewhere. So remember from the first project that we should not just store any data only in the dump. So in this particular case, we should not only display this current score on the user interface. Instead, we also want the variable in our code, which always holds the current score of this current round. So we need to define a variable for that. And where do you think we should do that? Well, it is certainly not in this function. So not in this handler function. Because if we did that, then each time that we roll dice, the current score will be resetted. So it will be redefined because this function here is called over and over again each time that the button is clicked. So if you want to basically persist that value, so if it should keep existing, then it needs to be outside here in the main program. So let's call this one let current score. Okay, and we start of course from the 0, and it needs to be let because we will keep updating it. So again, this cannot be inside of this function because then it will be set to 0 each time that we click the button, and so therefore it needs to be outside. Okay, and now we say in this if element, we say current score equal current score plus dice. And once again, there is a shortcut operator for operating this variable here. So instead of this, we can just write current score plus equal dice. Okay? So that's exactly the same, but it is a little bit faster to write. And now, all we need to do is to display the score on the current player. Now, at this point, we'll just display it on player 1 to make it a little bit simpler. But in the future, we need to keep track of which player is the active player. This is the next level. But wait, please. So, that we will do in the next video, inshallah. But again, for now, let's just display the score on player 1. So let's select the score of the current score for player 1. Where is it? Here is it. Okay, here is it. So here it is, I come back if you don't remember, it is this current score, dash score, and we have also current dash 1. Okay? Or 0. So let's actually copy that in our code. And actually, I will keep using get element by ID now. Okay, so now I will create here another const current 0 element. It is document dot get element by ID, element by ID, and here it is this one, and I will copy paste for the also for element 1 because we need them after 1 and here 1. Good. And so now let's use this one. Okay, so the first 0. So let's do it here. After we added the dice, so current 0 element dot here we'll use text content. Okay, equals simply to current score. Good. And let me just add a note here. Fix me. Okay, change later. It depends of the which player. Which we fix it later. Because in the future we need to display this current score at the current player and not always at player number 0 or player number 1. But for now we just want to make this functionality work. So let's just test it for now. So roll dice. Good. And as you will see that it added the number 5 to the 0. And now I will roll again. I have one. Oh, no problem. I have rolled again. So it added again another number 5 to number 5. Okay, so it begins number 10. So it works. And now that we rolled a 1, nothing happened, as you can see. So in this situation, we want to move to the next player. Okay? And so that's gonna be this else block. Okay? But this one I will leave for the next video because this involves doing a lot of stuff. So maybe you can think about what we need to do, because that will be a good opportunity for you to start thinking by yourself how to implement this kind of functionality. So try that out, and then let's move inshallah to the next video where we continue our implementation of this amazing game. So take care of us. Don't forget please to subscribe to my channel Faisal Azib. Follow me on Instagram faisal.checo. And I tell you goodbye. Wassalamu alaikum wa barakatuh.